All right, I'll give folks just a little bit of time to just jump on in before I get into the topic of the day. I'm going to wait like 30 seconds before I jump in. By the way, in the meantime, take note of the website down there, salesworld.mb Metaverse, which is my little launch on Sales World. We got 20 plus experts and speakers in Sales World. Check it out. It's free. Jump in there 24/7. Great speakers, great content. Now, what I want to do is I want to get into today's subject. And today's subject, this is a powerful technique. This is so good to use. So again, let me set this up. There's something called the endowment effect. That's how you spell it. Endowment effect. Okay? Now listen to me. If you want to sell more, get a higher ticket price without discounting. Let me say it again. Higher ticket price, right? One. Second box, no discounting, and no pressure. I'm telling you, I can check all three boxes on what I'm about to show you. And if you get this, you get this. Now, how does the endowment effect work? It works this way. Once you take possession of something, psychologically, it's hard for you to give it up. Now think about that. Once you accept something, take ownership of it mentally, you can't give it up. So how does this work? And by the way, this is not theory. This works. Now, there's two ways to present pricing. Often you can present options, and I've talked about that in the past. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about presenting full options, line items. So for example, if I present a bunch of line items like this, right? And you got pricing all the way down, till you get to the total. Let's say that this is the way you present pricing. In other words, you fully load a proposal, right? Now, when you fully load a proposal, what typically happens? In some cases, the customer says, whoa, Victor, that's more than I expected to pay, right? That's more than I expected to pay. So if that happens to you, customer slides the proposal right back and says, that's more than I expected to pay. What do you do? What do you do? Here's what most people do. They go, well, okay, maybe we can, work with you on your budget, and okay, and let me go rework the proposal. So you go rework the proposal. You come back, customer says, nah, that's still more than I expected to pay. Well, how much can you afford? Okay, then they start going, well, I want all this, but I can't afford that. Can you give me a discount? And again, depending on how desperate you are, you may give the discount. Now, here's all you have to do. This is how powerful this effect is. Now again, I'm not saying it may work, it could work, oftentimes it works. I'm saying it works, okay? It works. Here's what you do. You slide the proposal over. Once the customer sees the proposal and you've set everything up correctly, in other words, you've mentioned everything in the proposal, when the client slides the proposal over, instead of going back and reworking the proposal or trying to stop them from discounting, all you have to do is slide the proposal back to them, hand them typically a red pen or a red marker, and say something like this. Mr. Customer, I understand. Why don't you go ahead and take out what you don't want, and I'll go ahead and recalculate the price. Now, what did I just do? One, I handed control back over to the customer. Yeah, slick, right? Number two, they now have the pen, so they have to cross things out they don't want. In other words, you're giving them control, you're giving them that decision-making power, and all you're doing is stepping back and watching them. Now, here's what's going to happen. It happens all the time. Is that if you've done this right, if you've created enough value to all these items on the proposal, when you say something like, why don't you go ahead and take out what you don't want, the customer's going to struggle. This is the endowment effect. The psychological aspect of you taking ownership of something. And now, because you've mentally taken ownership, I see myself with all these features and benefits. And now when I get to the pricing and it's more than I expected to pay, you don't want to negotiate, you slide it back over. They have a hard time giving it up. Why? Because they psychologically have taken ownership of this. In other words, they've taken ownership of all these items. This is such a powerful effect. I'll give you an example. This was an interesting study because this is backed by a study. So it's not theory, it's not, hypotheses. They did a study where they gave a group a car that was fully loaded. By fully loaded, I mean it had everything, right? Every feature that you can imagine, right? Featured up to the hilt. Group number one, right here, right? Group number one. Group number two, what they did is they gave them the base model of the car, call it the base car, right? Just a car. And it had, in terms of features, it had minimum features. Now here's what they did. In this case, everybody had a car that was fully loaded. So group one, let's say they're in room one. Everybody has their car fully loaded. They told this group, why don't you go ahead and take out what you don't want individually, and then everybody will come up with their own price, and then we'll come up with an average price. In this room, they had the base model, and they told people, add whatever features you want in the car, then we'll calculate everybody's price, and then we'll come up with an average. Which group had a higher average price? Pretty much gave you the answer already, right? This group. Why? Because when the car was fully loaded, they took mental ownership of what was on that car. In other words, they bought into it. They already owned it. And so it was hard for them to take things out. Now let's go over here. They had the base model, and they said, why don't you add what you want? Now, they started adding things, but they saw the price going up. And when they saw the price going up every time they added, it created a different type of pain. Take care, really listen to this. Here, when you take things off, it creates a pain of giving something up. Over here, because you started low, it creates a pain of adding something that's going to cost more, so they added less items. That's why you should always, listen, never start low and build up. Always start high and drive it down. In other words, take things off. Because when you anchor them high and you let them take off what they don't want, you let them control it, but again, you're causing them brain pain because they've taken mental ownership of everything. This is a powerful strategy. Use it in your proposal. Slide it right back over. Said, Mr. Customer, why don't you take out what you don't want, and then I'll go ahead and recalculate the price. Notice I'm not discounting. And the third option I mentioned at the beginning was there's no pressure. So I've hit all three. I can sell higher price if I fully loaded. Number one. Number two, if they say it's more than I expect to pay, I don't want a discount. Mr. Customer, why don't you take out what you don't want? And number three, there's no pressure. Take out what you don't want. I'm not trying to sell you. Take out what you don't want. The customer now has the illusion of control, but to some extent, they can decide what they want or don't want. And you'll notice every time you'll get an higher average deal size just by using this strategy. The worst thing to do, again, is to go off, recalculate the price, and then come back because they're not going to be happy with it, right? And they're always going to ask for a discount. So you got to learn that this method is good for higher average pricing, but also to reduce the amount of discounting you'll have to do. Simple technique, super effective. It works without question. So again, if you're presenting full options, full proposals, this is a great technique to learn. And on that note, I'll take some questions. Let me see who I got over here. My man, Mike Bonnet. Mike Bonnet is one of the best sales guys I've ever met, man. He's over with Grant Cardone and his team. I don't know if you're still there, man. Let me know. But you're an awesome guy. Thank you for stopping by, saying hi. Marlon Fuentes says, hello, Fire Jessica. Right back at you with the flame. Ama Akwanga. I think I got that right. If not, Ima. Impressive. I appreciate that. Marlon Fuentes. I learned from Victor many years ago. Ask for more than what you want. That's right. Always ask for more than what you want so you'll get what you want. So you guys are on it. Anyway, I just wanted to jump on here for a few minutes. I think I've been on here about maybe 10 minutes, which is where I wanted to be. So anyway, I'm wrapping this up. Again, when you get a chance, I'm going to erase all this. If you haven't done so already, check out that thing right there, Sales World. I'm really proud of this because, again, we got some great sales experts. Michael Bonnet, you should be in Sales World. Check it out. Again, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. On that note, let me wrap it up. Have a great day, guys. Go make a sale. Take care.